eBayers. This is Suzanne, your hostess, and you have reached episode 183 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is September 18th, 2024, and my guest today is Kathryn in Minnesota. No announcements other than a gentle nudge to get your stuff listed. Fourth quarter is coming. That's all I got. Okay, let's chat with Kathryn.
Okay, listeners, I have Kathryn with us this week. And where are you located again?
I am in a small town in Minnesota. We are only about half an hour from the North Dakota border, right by Fargo.
Okay.
And I was actually born in Fargo. So,
Really?
yeah.
Okay. So the only connection I have to Minnesota is I lived there when I was from, I don't know, 1 to 2. And my brother was born in Bloomington. And I remember nothing. I only see the pictures of us all bundled up and our faces. Like, I have an older sister, and then me and my brother, and then my younger sister was born later in Georgia. But it was just, yeah. So that's it for me. I've never been
Yep.
personally.
Yep.
All I remember is my mother, who's from Florida, talking about how much she hated it. They moved there with a job transfer with my dad, and just like she lasted about a year, and just
Because of the weather.
yeah, she just couldn't do the cold weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It keeps a lot of people out.
So you're tough if you've been there your whole life.
I don't know any difference.
That's right. That's right. If you came down south and watched what happens when we have snow, you just laugh at us.
Oh, my sister lives in North Carolina, and
Oh,
we went to visit, and we were laughing because she said all the schools closed today because there was a snowstorm. And I'm seeing green grass everywhere. And I said, "What snowstorm?" And she goes, "Look at that tree, and there's a little pile of snow under her tree." And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me."
well, what happens is the
Yeah,
ice on the roads that, you know, that's not good. And
people
then
aren't used
we
to
had
it.
something in Atlanta in 1982. It was called Snow Jam 82. And it happened in the late afternoon. Everybody was on their way home from work, and people got stuck everywhere. It was like one they had recently. Same thing happened, and it was just the time of day and all the terrible
Yep.
traffic we already had down there. And then you add a snowstorm, ice storm on top of it, and it was just that's what everybody goes back to.
Yep.
Or 1972, which I was 6 years old. I remember we had this huge ice storm in April, and everything shut down. All the power lines came down because the pine trees heavy with the ice,
Yes.
and some people were without power for 2 weeks.
Oh
So
my God.
that's
Well, we had I moved out to California for a while after college, and I was out there for the big earthquake, which I'd
oh,
never.
in '89.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, "Well, we don't get earthquakes in North Dakota, Minnesota." We probably could, but that just doesn't happen. I'll take a blizzard any day where they say, "Hey, a blizzard's coming." And then you go get hot chocolate and you get out your Monopoly game, and you just stay in your pajamas all day. With an
Right.
earthquake, there's no warning. You're just
Uh-uh.
boom. Well, so then we moved to Grand Forks, and by then I was married. And that's when the flood of 97 hit
Hmm.
in Grand Forks. The entire town was evacuated, and I had a 3-week-old baby, my firstborn,
Oh,
and so we had to leave town. Our house flooded. Oh gosh. I'm like, is natural disaster just following me now wherever I
right.
go?
Right. I know.
But we had
Okay.
big ice storms before the flood, and power lines down and phone lines down, and yeah.
Well, I mean, in the north, you're just equipped for that. In the
Yeah.
south, it doesn't make sense to invest in snow plows and all
Yep.
the things that are needed because it's such a rare event. I mean, we
Yep.
like it. We like that one day of snow and you look out the window at it and then it's gone the next day.
Yeah. I do wish for that sometimes.
Okay, so enough of the weather and geography. Let's talk about eBay and what brought you to eBay and when. Because I've known you online for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was a teacher, a fifth grade teacher, um, in a school here in Minnesota. And I was selling, what got me on eBay, it's kind of a funny story because I had bought a couple things on eBay, but never thought to sell anything on eBay. And my mom died. That's not the funny part. That was horrible.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
my sisters and I decided to have an auction because it was this house that was kind of in a really, really small town. Um, and so we had an auction, but she had some nice leather purses. And I thought, they're probably going to put all those in just a box for $5 or something. So maybe I'll take some of the nicer ones and just try to sell them on eBay.
Mhm.
And the first one I posted sold within a week for like $70. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll sell a couple more. And I
Maybe
sold a
I'll sell
couple
a few
more.
more things. Yeah.
Yep. And, split the money with my sisters. Well, then I thought maybe I should look into this. So I looked up selling on eBay videos. And the first video that came up was somebody that only sold plush animals. I didn't even know they were called plush at the time. We call them stuffed animals.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was like, what do they mean plush? I was like, oh, like carpet, like it's really plush.
I was so new to it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, maybe there's plush animals everywhere, so I'll check into that. I went to the thrift store and found a little turtle that wound up and it moved its little head in a little tune plate. I think it was from the 70s, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought it was cute. It was a quarter. I posted it on eBay and it sold for $25. So I told my husband, maybe I'll just start selling some plush online. Well, I didn't do any research. And the very next weekend, and this was shortly after my mom died, maybe 2 months. And my daughter had a softball tournament in a town, and every time I dropped her off for her practices and getting ready for the game, I would go rummage sailing, and there was a town nearby that was having a town-wide rummage sale. So I was only looking at plush at the time. The next day, my husband came to join us, and he said, well, let me put some things in your van. And then we'll put, my daughter's stuff in the car that he brought. And I said, well, there might be a problem with that. And so we went out to the van and he lifted up the back hatch and there were plush animals all the way to the front. Not no seat was open. I couldn't see out the back window. And this big plush pig just fell off the top of the pile and rolled onto the ground. He put his hand on my arm and he said, I don't know if this is a grief thing, but maybe we should stop buying plush animals for a little bit. I'm like, okay.
He put you on inventory lockdown.
He did. And, some of them sold, a lot of them were just crap. I had done no research whatsoever. I just thought, oh, this is vintage or this is cute or this might sell. And then I decided I need to do more research. So I started doing more research. I, started like a lot of people, just sort of an everything seller, part-time while I was teaching. Our kids had some medical issues, so it helped with the medical bills. And once I finally niched down, right now I just sell clothing and vintage jewelry.
I noticed you're wearing a lot of interesting pieces. You've got
Look at this.
What is that?
It's a fishbowl with a fish in it.
Okay, so for the listener, she's got a pendant and it's like acrylic
Yeah.
and it's about the size of what?
Oh, it's probably an inch.
Like a pocket
high.
watch, like the size of
Yeah.
a pocket watch. And it's
And
acrylic
it's got
and it has a like a gold
a
tone
goldfish.
fish on the inside of it. And I've been looking at that like, what's in there?
Well, I wear funny things like and chunky things like this, vintage jewelry, because when I hold my grandsons, they like to look at it and feel
Uh-huh.
it, you know. But anyway, I niched down and I still had stuffed animals that hadn't sold. And so I finally just got rid of them. Maybe that was a grief thing. I don't know, um but
Hey, there's worse things to get involved in when you're grieving. I mean, you could have
yes,
taken up drinking or
yep.
gambling or, buying some stuffed animals to resell is
That's
probably on the lighter end of those vices.
probably. And then in 2020, the school year of 2020, 2021, there were a lot of elements that came together to make that a really, other than the pandemic, that made that a really, really hard year for
Mhm.
teaching for our entire fifth grade teaching staff. And so I won't go into detail about that because I'm still bitter. But
You can't say something nice. Don't say anything at
yeah,
all.
I come from a long line of grudge holders. So
Oh, really? So you're trying to break the pattern. Good for you.
it's
I,
not
that's a
working.
good way to put it. I come from a long line of grudge holders.
So I decided I was coming home and I was crying almost every night after work from teaching. It was such a terrible year. I told my husband, I can't teach anymore. I will become ill. You will have a miserable life living with me because I will not be a happy wife. I've never let our family down before. I'm not going to let us down now, but I've got to do something else. And I think I can make this eBay thing work.
Mhm.
And he said, no, we can't do that.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
Oh,
He is
Lord.
very black and white. You know, you stay at the same place till you get the gold watch at the end of the year. And I said, I know that that's your view on things, but you're going to have to jump off this ledge with me, honey, because I can't, I will not teach
It's
anymore.
not worth you being miserable.
No, I will not do it.
No money is worth that. If you only do a job for the money, you're not going to last long.
And it's not great money. You
Well,
know,
but the benefits and the commitment
right,
and all that. Yeah.
right. And I said, I'm sorry. I have to live my life and I can't do this anymore. So I was not prepared the way you should be prepared to quit your full-time job. You know, I have so many months saved up for in case something goes wrong and really build up your inventory. And I was not prepared in that way. So I just had to feet to the fire, make it work. And I've been home now for 4 years full time. I love it.
Good
I
for
mean,
you.
I don't have anybody sending me stupid policies and saying this will be great and it's not great. I don't have to attend any meetings that I don't want to attend. I don't have parents yelling at me, kids yelling at me, admin yelling at me. I, oof, whatever. When I had COVID, it would have been the first week of school and the
Uh,
weekend before when I would have been getting my classroom ready. I didn't have to tell anybody. I didn't have to get lesson plans prepared for a sub. I didn't have to stress about not meeting the kids on the first day. I just laid in bed.
oh, and for the listeners, Kathryn was saying that she had COVID over Labor Day weekend. So
Yeah.
that's what she's talking about. So now let me ask you, I think we're about the same age. What year were you born?
63.
Okay. I'm 66. I'm not
Okay.
66 years old. I was born in
Yeah.
66. Okay. So you're that Gen X, or do you say baby
Um,
boomer?
just on the very edge of we're like the last of the what's the one before Gen X?
Baby boomer,
Baby boomer. Yep.
right? Because you do have some qualities of Gen X with the whole anti-corporate lifestyle
Yeah.
policy. I mean, I was there too. I was just like, every job I ever had, I saw things I could do better, and like, why
Mhm.
don't you guys do it this way? What if we tried this? And no, that's the way we've always done it. And you have like great ideas, and they will not even listen. And a lot of
No,
it's a power trip for the people that have been there forever. They don't want anything to change.
especially the men.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
found.
thing about being an entrepreneur is like You can try something, and if it fails, I don't even like to say that word. If it doesn't work, well, maybe the world's
What
just
do you
not ready for this yet. Maybe I should try this again in a year.
or what do I need to adjust to make it work?
Right. Yeah. And you have the power. I mean, it is very empowering to have your own business, and your successes are yours and your failures are yours, and you don't have to get approval from
Absolutely.
anybody. You don't have to have a meeting about what time we're going to have the meeting and all that stuff. It's just
Nope. The
wasted time.
first year, I think I bought a t-shirt that said, "I love my boss." And then I I tell my sisters things like, "My boss brought me cookies for lunch today."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the
So did
boss.
you officially retire from teaching, or did you just
Well,
stop?
you can take a leave of absence for 5 years. So
Oh, really?
if I failed and I really needed to go back, they would have to hire me back, but it wouldn't have to be in the same school or at the same grade level or teaching the same subject. But they would have to put me somewhere. And knowing my principal, he would find the most miserable place to put me. He did not like strong women. And you're better at saying, well, what if we did it this way or what if we do it that way? I was more like, why would we do this at all? It doesn't make
You're
any
more like,
sense.
that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
That's what went through my head, but I would be like,
I know.
give
You
me
put your
some
filter
research.
on.
Can you give me some research behind this, why this would be better for my students,
Uh-huh.
And he'd be like, no, just do it because I said so. Well,
Yeah. And I don't even know if I mentioned this, but last year, 2023, when two people in my family passed away and blah, blah,
oh,
blah, and I was out there, I got a job at a bank just to have something else to do,
mhm.
something to be out in the world, because it is isolating to be home by yourself doing this. And it didn't even last 2 weeks. But I was the I was the question asker, and I had worked in banking in the late 80s and 90s,
Mhm.
and it really had changed. And everything was about being suspicious of customers. Everybody's a crook. That if they give you cash, is it fake? Is it counterfeit? If they give you a
Oh
check,
my
is that
gosh.
is it fake? And I just don't. My mind doesn't work that way. Like I don't want to be suspicious of everybody in the world. Maybe I'm too trusting. Obviously, I am after this last experience in my life. But um, just like I want to look for the good in people and the opportunities and the possibilities and how we can make this a win for everybody. And I just kept asking them, why do y'all do it that way? What's this for? What's this rule all about? And you know what? Even the manager, most of the people did not even know. They just said, that's just the way we have to do it. That's just,
I hate that I hate that
and I'm
phrase.
like, you're just
It's
a robot, you
it's
know?
how we've always done it. That's the worst
I
phrase to
hate that
me.
answer. Well, maybe it's time to do it a different way.
Yeah. So, like, I had a student that, just had a lot of difficulties, really tough family home. I connected with her a little bit, but that first year of COVID, we were out of school and on screen, and then half of the class was in, and then the other half the off days, and then we were all together, and it was difficult to connect with the students the way you normally would. And she would come in every day with her hoodie up and just put her head on the desk and not do her work and not talk and not participate, nothing, nothing, nothing. And outside of class, I had started to connect with her a little bit, when we're standing in the lunch line, whatever. But I had gone to there were 5 professionals I could go to in the building to like, what should I be doing with the student? What can I try to get her to stay in school, to do her work, to participate, even just answer a question, read a page in a book. And the idea that all 5 of the school psychologist, the school counselor, the Native American rep, all of them, the idea they came up with was she really likes wearing a hoodie. So let's just let her have her hood up. What? She already does have her hood up. How does that help me as a teacher get this child to be educated because we know how the system works. She could sit here all year and do absolutely nothing. And you know what? We're still going to pass her to sixth grade because you can't give zeros in school anymore.
Ah, I didn't know that.
In our school, we couldn't. No, you don't flunk anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's
So you
a
just,
huge disservice to the child,
yes.
pushing them through when they don't know enough to progress to the next grade.
And the parents,
Yeah.
holding the parents accountable for getting the kids to do their homework. We don't give homework anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, ugh.
I can
And I
see why
finally,
eBay looked so good to you now.
yes, it looked so good because I was like, I I wasted how much time meeting? We had several meetings about this student. I spent my lunch hours researching things I could do. I spent so much time on that one student that was completely wasted time because nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Well, and I commend you for even trying. You were trying to do what was best for the student, and it's just not going to work. So, eBay, here I come.
Yep, absolutely. And with eBay, I'm like, if I, like you said, if I make a mistake, if I do something dumb, I can tell myself, that was stupid, Kathryn. What were you thinking? Why would you
Right.
do why would you do that? And then fix it and move on.
Well, and I think your story of your experience is going to resonate with a lot of the listeners who are in those kinds of jobs where um you can't even get excited about it. You can't get motivated because you're just shut down all the time. But I understand you got to stick with it until you get your retirement, your pension. You've invested 25 years of your life, and you just got to kind of hang on until you get that golden parachute, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but eBay is so much more fun. Even on a bad day on eBay is better than working for somebody else.
Absolutely. Because I didn't get a lot of kudos in teaching. Everybody wants to tell you how to do something different, or here's a new curriculum, or here's a new policy, or you're not helping my child, or you're not, you know, we want you to do more in your classroom than you're already doing. We want to add and pile on and not take anything away. And it just wears you down. But I remember the first year of doing eBay, I was like, I get I get all these comments from buyers that are like, "Thank you for packaging the item so well. I really love the, necklace," or, "Oh my gosh, this was even better than I thought it was going to be. Thank you so much," or "You're an A plus seller." I get those comments, and if I'm having a bad day, I just pull some of those up and read them because I never got that in teaching.
Right.
It was so rare to get any kind of praise in teaching for all of the teachers, not just me. I might be making myself sound like I was a horrible teacher,
No, I just
but it
think
happened.
even though you left that world 4 years ago, it's so much of your personality, your energy was invested in that.
Yeah. And I
And
think
all
there's a culture in business too now where managers aren't giving the workers the kind of lift that they need
Mhm.
to do better or to do more or to want to stay there even. So,
And I think everyone is like this when you've invested so much time and energy and yourself into something that just doesn't pan out. You just feel like, "Ugh, I just wasted my time."
yeah,
But you didn't.
I
You
didn't. I
did.
learned things. And listen, I am absolutely horrible with anything math related. So when I sit down with my spreadsheet, I just immediately get a pit in my stomach.
Mhm.
It scares me. And I've never taught math. I stopped taking math in ninth grade. That's over 40 years ago. So anything, I just have to really think about what I'm doing. It takes me a long time. So I'm not like the best business runner, business owner out there, but I make it work because you have
Yeah.
to. If you're
I mean,
relying on
everybody has
yourself.
their weak points, and I listened to this comedian. Her name is Kathleen Madigan. She's from St. Louis,
Oh,
and she's just hilarious. And she's like pretty clean. She doesn't use much profanity, so hey, you can get your point across without doing
yep.
that. But she was talking about she has a new thing out on Amazon. It's called Finding Bigfoot. But she's talking about she just wants to go buy a used car. She just needs a car, and she just calls up, hey, to the dealership, I'm interested in this car. What's the price? I'm going to come up there and buy it. I don't want any conversations about, deals, and I don't want to negotiate, and I don't want to do any math. And so she gets up there and the guy starts doing all this math, and she's like, no, all I want is something that sits up high that I can see because I'm short. And I just want to pay you the price and leave. I don't want to do any math.
Yeah. Just tell me the bottom line,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
dollar amount.
I was like, yeah, I get that. But
Yep. I have that
anyway,
t-shirt that says, there are three kinds of people in the world, those who can do math and those who can't.
goodness. or those who don't choose not to.
That would be me.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's get into the meat of this eBay stuff, and talk about some things that you've sold or some experiences that you've had, because that's what the listeners want to know is like, what's she selling?
Well, when I was an everything seller, um, my sister lived in the same town with me before she moved to North Carolina. And it was funny because she was going through stuff. She hates packing. She's kind of a throwaway type person, unlike me. And she brought two things over to my house. She brought a set of scuba gear, and she said, would you be willing to sell this for me on eBay and, take out your fees and taxes, all that kind of stuff, and give me the money? And I said, sure, I can do that. And then she gave me this kind of Art Deco tea set. And she said, oh, you can have this too. I don't want the money for it. Just sell it, keep whatever you get. Okay. I couldn't sell the scuba gear to save my life. It's very heavy for one thing. And people just weren't buying it. And I tried to even donate it to used sports businesses around here. They didn't want it. So I had to call her and say, I can't sell this stuff. I can put it in a rummage sale, but I can't even get it out of my house. And she said,
Mhm.
okay, that's fine. I still had the tea set to sell. Well, I looked it up and it was a Shelley. It was a very rare Shelley Art Deco set with kind of triangle handles,
Mhm.
and it sold for $1,500.
Really?
Yes. And I called my twin sister because she was my older sister, and I said, okay, I have a dilemma. I sold this tea set. Chris said I could keep the money. Do I tell her what the money was and give her some of it, even though she said I could just have it? And she said, nope, keep the money. And I said, well, I feel guilty. And she said, she gave you one thing to sell that she wanted the money for, and she gave you something else to sell that she didn't want the money for. And if you hadn't taken it, she would have just dropped it off at a donation site and somebody else would have had all of that money. So,
Yeah, I would have given that. Just stay under the radar. You don't have to
yeah,
tell everybody everything.
no. So that was probably my biggest sale. I've had some failures, when I started niching down to clothing and jewelry. I started going through every tub and saying, is this something that I could still sell just to get rid of it, knock the price down, run a sale of some kind, or should I just donate it? All the plush animals I donated. And
Oh, really?
yeah,
After all that, you donated them.
I had tubs of them. But it felt really good to clean that out. that was probably one of the best things I ever did for my business, was to find a niche and to just clear my mind and go, okay, now that I have these two niches, what can I learn about them? And really deep dive into those categories. And even with clothing, I don't sell all clothing. I don't sell children's clothing. I don't sell blue jeans. I don't sell shoes. There are just some categories that I just don't like selling them. They're kind of
You just
boring
can't
to
get
me.
excited about it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be excited, like, "Oh, I can't wait to list that. Oh, that is so pretty. I can't wait to work with that and take pretty pictures of it." And
And
that's
we've all probably had a pile of, whatever, and then you list the things that you love, and that other stuff just sort of sits there, and you put more stuff on the pile, and then
yep,
you list the things you love, and pretty soon the stuff that you can't stand, that you aren't excited about selling, gets bigger. That's your death pile usually.
yeah.
And, then you just have to get rid of it.
And that's blue jeans for me. I
Yeah.
got into that at one point, and I just even when you're out in the world finding them, they kind of all look the same.
Hmm.
It's
They do, and I don't have access to the really big name brands in blue
Mhm.
jeans that a lot of other people do, so I just don't sell them. But can I find a puffer coat? Absolutely.
I was gonna say, being a lifelong cold weather person,
Yes.
you probably have a lot of knowledge of that type of stuff and the base layers and all the
Flannel, I can find you flannel. Yep.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to kind of bloom where you're planted on that. And just, what's plentiful in your area.
Mhm.
And that's what I did when I first started with the golf shirts. It was like I was seeing those everywhere and a lot of them. And I'm like, well, this is what's plentiful for me. And I can work with that. Yeah.
Yep.
There was
Yeah.
something going on when I was in the Midwest. Um, when I would go to Goodwill, I would find so many Victoria's Secret bras and they were like brand new. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I buy 30 at a time, you know? And I'm
Wow.
like, is there an outlet near here? Is Well, there were several colleges. And I'm just wondering if, those were donated by female college students that, I don't know, had too many, or when they it was time to move out, they just downsized, or I couldn't figure that out. Like, why are there so many? Sometimes
Yeah.
there's the Vera Bradley factory. I think, is that in Indiana?
I don't know.
There's people that go to that. They'll have a sale where they allow the public in a couple times a year, and it's like what you live near that you can leverage,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in your area that you can leverage, because people are all the time, what should I sell? Well, what do you see all the time?
What do you know about? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What can you find?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What other stories do you have? And wait, what year did you start on eBay? Did you say,
Well, full time 4 years ago,
or just selling stuff
just
here?
selling everything.
Yeah.
Yep. When I quit teaching, but I was doing it for about 2 years part time while I was teaching before that.
Okay. I thought you'd been on eBay like a really long time, but you said you started off buying. So maybe
It's
that's
been about 6 or 7 years altogether.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. That's a good base for experience.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm learning all the time. I mean, I've been researching lately about all the new core aesthetics. There's so many of them, and a lot of them I don't even use because they're just kind of silly. I don't think they're going to last. It's
What,
just,
like grandma core and coastal grandma
yep.
and
Those are big right now, but there's one that's called trad wife, where it's like being the traditional wife and, going along with the patriarchy. So you're wearing, tea length dresses and
like June Cleaver stuff?
yes, I'm not doing that. And
Okay, well, I want to know who these people are that sit around and make up these words.
I know.
They'll just start up like, okay, Barbie core. That got big when the Barbie movie came out, but like,
But now you can't, that's banned now.
is it really? Okay, so
Yes,
now I know.
I just learned that today because you, unless it's actually a Barbie Mattel Barbie item, you cannot use Barbie core anymore. So now they have, I just
Oh,
looked
so
it up.
that's like a keyword spamming thing. Just
Yes.
like if
So
you
now they
sell
have,
a handbag that looks like Louis Vuitton or like Coach, you can't do
right.
that. It has to actually be the thing that you're using the keyword for.
Yep. And now they have pink Pilates princess. I'm not putting that in my
Heck.
title. I don't even know what that is.
Well,
And they have,
pickleball is a big thing now, and you're seeing that on like tennis and golf clothing is for pickleball. But like,
and there's
do
tennis
we really
core.
need that? Like, you
I
know
know.
what you're going to wear it to. Why do you need to
I know.
search that? Because it's the same as golf and tennis.
Right. There's
Athletic.
frazzled English woman.
What?
Frazzled
Hey,
English
who
woman.
is that supposed to look like?
I don't know.
Frazzled English woman? I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to look these up.
And there's clown core, where you basically dress in really bright colors and you look like a clown.
And you scare everyone because there's
I know.
that phobia of clowns.
And there's tomato core, where obviously that's a lot of red clothing.
Oh my gosh, you're
You can just
kidding.
you can just go down the rabbit hole with that stuff. And what
But
I
my
do,
question to the world is, do those keywords really bring you traffic? Is it worth taking up the space in your title to put those ridiculous words in there?
well, what I've decided is if I come across an item that is clearly fairy core
Oh yeah.
or mermaid core, it's iridescent and blue and green and it has ruffles and butterflies or whatever,
Mhm.
I'll put it in my title. But
Mhm.
I'm not going to go through every one of my 2,000 items and say, okay, could this be Gorp core? Is it Norm core? Oh, I better look up all these things that it could be and try to fill it out. Because in 6 months, all of those names are going to change and it's going to go from grandma core to coastal grandma core to Gigi core to I don't know what else.
Right. And so just I think for those that don't know, the coastal grandma is like anything Diane Keaton would wear in a beach movie.
Right. Exactly right.
And that is a thing. That comfortable linen, flowy,
Yep.
light colors that reflect the sun, the hats, all that kind of stuff for the more mature woman, the
Yep.
island fisher, that kind of stuff. But
But that could also be log and look. And so a lot of these overlap. And that's the other thing. It's like, why can't we just have one category for that?
well, and there's a great video for the listeners and you if you haven't seen it. If you go on YouTube and look up, I think it's Jimmy Kimmel and Jane Fonda, and they are mocking Grandma Core, and it's just hilarious.
I'm going to have to look that
So if
up.
you don't know what that is, go Google that because then you'll know, and it'll be a sarcastic take on it. But I've sold that kind of clothing my entire eBay career.
Yep.
100% linen, it sells well. It's high
Right.
quality. It breathes. The light colors reflect the sun. Some people don't iron it; they just wear it all wrinkled up. I can't do that. But you know, it's just linen clothing is durable and it's a standard that's been around forever. We just
Right.
forever the word maker upper people,
Yeah.
they just put a name on it.
Right. So if I have a linen shirt, it could be normcore, it could be coastal grandma, it could be quiet luxury, it could be old money, it could be, there's just so many different things it could be. And
It could be I don't
how
want to be
long are
hot
those
and
going to
sweet.
last?
Okay. Well, thank you for that lesson on keywords.
You're welcome. I would say don't fill up your title with them.
Yeah, it's just, and you can go and do that research on eBay and put in those keywords and see how many listings come up. And just a side note, since Terapeak is now called eBay Research, they've changed some things. You actually have to go to the condition and choose a condition, and then you'll see how many results are in
Oh,
each. Because if you just put it into eBay Research, if you put J. Jill linen tunic, it just brings up the results. It doesn't tell you how many. So if you
yep.
go and do that drop down of condition, it'll tell you how many new, like new, pre-owned, whatever all
Yep.
of them are. They made that a little a little hard to find, but you can figure that out with these keywords. Like, are there enough sales happening with these keywords in the title that it justifies taking up that space?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how
Another,
many items do you have listed at this time?
I have about 2,700.
Really?
Yeah.
And how many did you have when you first started 4 years ago? How long has it taken? I mean,
Full
like, how
time.
did you build that?
I probably had about 6 to 700 when I started full time.
Okay.
So I built it as quickly as I could.
Hmm. And what is your storage situation?
Well, I'm lucky that we live in a mid-century modern house. So there's the room that I'm in now is my office, and
Hmm.
then 4 steps down is our basement. And the kids are grown and out. So my husband built me shelves down there, and I have all my tubs in numerical order. They all fit down there. If I start getting too many items and I need more tubs, I get rid of something. So I'm at max capacity. I will only be at that capacity. I'm never going to be a 4,000, 5,000 item store. I don't want to be in the storage business. I want to be in the selling business.
Right.
So if I have to add a tub, that means I'm not doing something to get rid of enough stuff in my store.
Okay. And so about how many items do you sell a day, a week with that
Um,
much inventory?
you know what? I've had a couple of slow months here, but typically 15 items a day.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's mostly clothing and vintage jewelry.
Yep. Clothing, that's the only thing I sell now. That's the only thing that's in my tubs. I don't do
Okay, well, let me
purses.
pick your brain. What is maybe give us the top three clothing brands that you look for?
I still look for Patagonia. I come across it once in a while. I can find it up here. I would love to find more Arc'teryx.
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 Yeah, that's a good one.
I hardly ever find it up here. People hang on to that up in the Midwest. They use
Okay.
it. It's really good quality. Um, I do look for sometimes a style more than a brand, like
Okay.
a good linen piece. I look for silk, wool, satin, organic cotton, some of the really good fibers because those
Hmm.
sell well for me. And then if it's a good brand on top of it, I try to avoid like DKNY, some of the mall brands that are kind of out of favor now,
Hmm.
unless it's a piece that I really think somebody
High
will.
quality, durable fabric.
Yeah.
What about LL Bean? You see much of that?
I do find LL Bean, and I avoid Eddie Bauer, but
Mhm.
unless it's like a puffer coat, if it's got actual down in it, but LL Bean sells pretty well.
Yeah, I love finding vintage LL Bean. It usually sells pretty
Mhm.
quickly because it's
Yeah.
it's just so durable.
Yep.
It can't wear it
But
out.
it can make it hard to find it around here because people y- they wear it out here. They're out on the farms and they're
Yeah.
outside cold, and they need that kind of stuff. So
And so for the listeners, in case you don't realize, that kind of stuff, vintage LL Bean, um, it's okay if it's not perfect.
yep.
It can even have holes in it, and because they're going to wear it as a layer, or
Hmm.
maybe they're going to repair it because they want that durable base product that I can't tell you how many things I've sold that are imperfect that were for outdoor wear. Because, like, why do you want to spend $200 on a barn coat when you can go on eBay and get one for 50, a Carhartt? You know,
And they want it a little bit worn in because it's often very stiff
right,
material, kind of a canvas or a duck. And um, if it has a stain on it, then they don't feel bad about getting another stain on it from
right.
the axle grease or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And boots, outdoor, rugged, farm, ranch work type
yep.
stuff that, like, it's already broken in.
Yeah,
That's a
it,
great point.
it's good stuff. Yes. One
Okay.
one thing I had to learn in this business, um, just switching to a different topic, is not to get angry with some of the questions or responses from buyers. I was still in my angry mode, I think, from school. So I was just like, why would you say this? What, and
Why
now
are you asking that? What's your problem?
what is wrong with you? No, but now I just yesterday I got a message from a buyer that said, where is my item? I needed to have it by September 9th and it has not come. And I need you to respond to me immediately, all capital letters. And I responded and I said, um, I shipped your item today. It was the 11th. I shipped your item today, the 11th of September. I'm not sure why you expected to get it by the 9th because you didn't even buy it until the 10th.
Help me understand what calendar you're looking at.
I know I'm not good at math,
Right.
but if you don't buy it till the 10th, you're not getting it on the 9th unless you have a time
So
machine.
did they answer? Obviously, they had you confused with something else they bought.
No, she answered and said, okay.
Oh, well, probably just a senior moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just had to laugh. I couldn't be annoyed by it. I couldn't let it waste energy in my head.
Mhm.
I just responded, and if people are nasty, I just block them if I can, and or try to help them figure out whatever the issue is, and then just move on. Their
Yeah,
anger isn't my anger.
the more I've done this business and had to deal with rude or upset people, it's always about them. And I've switched to like pitying them rather than getting mad at them or letting them get me upset because, oh, maybe they had to put their dog to sleep today and they're just
Mhm.
angry and you're an easy target because you're just a faceless person out there on the other end of a computer. And um yeah, so for the listeners that are new to this or new to customer service, it's never about you. It's
No.
always about them. Maybe they got ripped off on their last purchase on eBay, or you don't know. You have no idea what's causing them to act like that.
And you can't let their frustration become your frustration or their anger become your anger. And that was a hard lesson to learn.
Hmm.
um, because I wanted my business to be perfect. So anybody that was what I felt was like coming after me, I wanted to get defensive right away and, and deal with it. But it would just frustrate me. And now I'm just like, that's just part of doing business. There are some people out there that are going to cause problems. You can't do anything about that. You just do what you can per eBay's policies and move on.
Well, and the other day I was shopping for something on eBay, and I sometimes look at their feedback just to see. And this lady had something like 1,100 items in her store. She'd been selling for 6 years. And in her About Me page, she put, "We pride ourselves on never having received a negative feedback. Our feedback is 100%." And I'm like,
Hmm.
great. I commend you, but it could change tomorrow, and I don't know really any seller that's never received a negative, and undeserved usually, because it's the buyer just flying off the handle.
And after so many months, it comes off of
Yeah,
the
it drops
account.
off after a year.
So
Right.
lots of people could say, I have
Yeah,
and
like you can't go
you
back
wouldn't
and
know.
see unless you just scroll through pages and pages of feedback.
Right.
So maybe she changes that. Maybe she has had a negative and she changed it or something. But I
Yeah.
just I just look at that thinking, most of the time the negatives are not your fault. I got one a few months ago because some shoes they bought, they came unglued after they wore them a few times. Well, like, how
Oh,
could I have prevented that?
no.
I didn't. They were fine when I sold them. I did the twist test and made sure everything was good, and they just didn't contact me. I totally would have given them money back, but they didn't contact me. It just hit me out of the blue, and I was like, ugh, people. But karma gets those people.
Yep.
You don't have to. Just give them
That's,
enough rope. They'll eventually hang themselves.
yep. That's what I think. I just think, well, you know what? You can move on to the next person you buy from. I've
Yeah,
done what I
yeah,
could for you.
right. And it's just for the listeners, it's gonna happen.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
not if, it's when, and how do you handle it? How you respond. You don't need to sink to their level and get all nasty with them. Just uh customer didn't contact us. We always refund. We hate that this happened. Just so other people reading it can see that you're doing your best as a seller.
And sometimes I will write down what I really want to say
Yeah.
on a piece of paper, like who licked the red off your candy? Then I crumple it up and throw it away, and then I respond in a more professional manner. But
Like
everyone,
that episode of Friends where they wrote down stuff about their ex-boyfriends and then they just burned all those papers. The burn pile of what I really want to say.
Yep.
So, okay. Well, I think you gave advice already because that's usually the last thing. Is there anything else you want to add? So you've been doing this 4 years full time. And what are your plans going forward?
So I want to continue full time for 4 years, and then I'm going to retire. And I told my husband we're going to move to the town where my grandkids are because I can't even be an hour away from them. It kills me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to move. So for 4 years, I'll be full time. And I want to increase my income in those 4 years. It's a constant learning process of what's selling now. And that's kind of the fun of it, is learning, like, well, what are the trends right now for fall? What are people looking for? How can I move my inventory faster? That's the challenge for me. And I like those kinds of challenges. I like doing research.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'll probably sell off all my inventory or ship it to Suzanne if she needs it. Whatever's left. There won't be any plush in there, I promise. And then,
you started the whole let's send Suzanne some inventory, which I'm loving because I'm getting all these things that I wouldn't find.
mhm,
And people are so generous. And I'm just, I'm thinking, how can I do this on purpose? Like, find sellers that are going out of business and, make an offer on their stuff because, it's not that I'm lazy and I don't want to go find my own. It's just, I know there's lots of sellers out there that are scaling back or they
yep,
have too much inventory. So, I want to figure out how to connect with those people and
how to
maybe,
get a message out there.
and just
Yeah,
take some stuff off their hands and pay them a decent price. And,
right,
because, we have this abundance of stuff everywhere and people all find different things. And what a great way to get into new product lines is just to buy out a seller who's going out of business or whatever. They've already
right.
got it all put together.
I've
Yeah.
thought of that too. And the other thing I really want to work on in the next 4 years is like better sourcing, quicker sourcing, but also I love to paint. And so I want to have a shortened schedule, do as much, but be more efficient with my time.
Mhm.
So that when I'm done for the day, and I can, clean out that closet, work on my paintings, and do other things that I really love to do.
Well, we could just talk for the rest of the day.
I
Um,
know.
Thanks for all that information. And
You're
we will look
welcome.
for your sales on the Facebook group.
Oh, thank you for interviewing me. It was sweet to talk to you.
Well, let's just call it a conversation.
Yes.
Interview sounds so formal.
Yes, I know. Okay, thank you for having this conversation with me.
Yeah, thanks for
Well, it is
coming
nice to
on.
finally talk to you in person.
I know it's great to meet everybody, even if it's just Zoom, but
Yep.
that's we are now. So, okay, well, have a great rest of your day then.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye.
I have to say, these aesthetics are hilarious. So I was thinking of one for myself called Retired Crippled Gymnast. It involves wearing yoga pants, a t shirt, a knee brace, and a fanny pack with ibuprofen, an ice pack, and a TENS machine. I could totally rock that. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I think we should all make up our own aesthetic for what we wear every day. Okay, today I'm going to end with something motivational. This came up on Reels, which, yes, I spend too much time on Reels. 1 minute you're watching funny cat videos, then some old gymnastics videos from the '84 Olympics, and then a clip from Titanic, and then some psychology. I guess there are worse things I could be doing during my insomnia at night. But I liked this one. How to change your life in 1 year. Number 1, stop complaining and focus on solutions. Yes, be solution oriented, not problem oriented. Number 2, embrace loneliness and use that time to rediscover yourself. And I don't even really like the word loneliness. I like solitude because it's okay to be by yourself. And sometimes you're your own best company. Number 3, surround yourself with people who lift you up. Yes, absolutely. Number 4, choose one skill to improve daily and commit to it. I love that one. Even 5 minutes a day is going to add up over time. Number 5, set and work towards meaningful goals. Number 6, move your body and exercise 3 to 6 times a week. Even if it's just gentle exercise, you still get the endorphins, which make you feel better and help you keep a positive attitude. Number 7, learn from every mistake and keep pushing forward. I think mistakes are just learning opportunities. You'll be like, hey, I'm not doing that again. Just keep moving forward. And number 8, spend less time on technology, read, journal, and explore the outdoors. And I think we have to be very intentional about this because it's so easy to get addicted to that phone or computer because it's endless. And especially social media is designed to be addictive. So set a timer, only do it 5 minutes at a time, whatever it is. These people that just are glued to their phone all the time, it's just not good for you. It's not good for your brain, and it's not good for your body, and it's just an addictive behavior that is not necessary. So read, journal, and explore the outdoors. All great ideas. And it's funny that this was on Reels, which you need technology for, and is telling you to cut back on technology. So a little contradictory. Okay, next week, my guest is a repeat offender. Carlos the mailman joins us to catch us up on what he's been doing in eBay and life since he was last on the podcast in 2022. And I really do enjoy catching up with my guests that have been on previously because eBay is a journey. It's an evolution. Your business is constantly changing. And I like to have discussions with these folks about what they've changed, what's working for them, what's not working, because we can all benefit from that. Thank you so much for joining us for the last hour, and have a profitable and productive week on eBay. Bye, everybody.